Really quick, everybody, this whole video will be timestamped, so if you don't want to watch the whole thing and just getting straight into a different fight, please check the pinned comment or check the little red bar right down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped. I appreciate you guys watching whatever part that you like to. If you're sticking around, everybody, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my full card, well, kind of full card breakdown and prediction for the next UFC Fight Night. This is something I'm going to be starting to do on the channel, so if you're new here, subscribe to the video, like, let me know what you think. And now, something that I do want to say in this intro is I am not going to be taking a look at every single fight on the card because there's some fights where I just feel like I don't know the fighters enough to give like an honest opinion and breakdown of the fight, and I want to be honest with you guys in that sense where it's like, hey, I'm not too sure about this fight, I'm not too familiar with the opponents, but as I continue to watch UFC, I'm watching every single fight, I'm watching all the prelims, I'm getting to know these fighters, but I'm going to get to a point on this channel where I will be able to break down every single fight on the card. So just want to say that I'm going to break down the fights that I am pretty confident with, or at least I think I have enough to talk about, you know what I mean? So with that being said, let's get straight into it. So starting off with Tracy Cortez versus Amanda Ribas here. Now this is a very interesting fight because Tracy Cortez, so far so good. To me it seems relatively unproven. Now Amanda Ribas, she's looked really good in the UFC besides her loss, and that loss has aged very, very well, and still she looked really good in that loss. As somebody who's been in the UFC for a little bit, we've seen her skill set, like, and again, I understand Tracy Cortez is like, she's looked great so far, you know what I mean? She's looked amazing, but Amanda Ribas, I feel like will have the experience edge, even though she doesn't necessarily have the same amount of fights. I feel like Ribas has been around like better fighters and better grapplers, and I feel like she might be able to pull off the submission in this fight because again, her recent loss has aged very, very well, and I'm just not convinced of Tracy Cortez yet. I'm not 100% confident in this fight, but I think it's safe to say if I'm going to bet on this fight, I'm going to go Ribas by submission here. Moving on to Darren Elkins versus Jonathan Pearce, and man, like, this would be a lot easier to predict, or a lot harder to predict if Darren Elkins was definitely younger. I just don't think that Darren Elkins has it anymore. I think the damage has taken a little bit too much damage in this fight, and Jonathan Pearce, he's looked pretty good so far. Like, yeah, you know what? Elkins, I can't believe he got the recent win when he did. I was just picking against him. He does not look like the same fighter that he once was, and honestly, I think that's all you need to really take a look at in this fight. I think that it's just, when you take a look at Jonathan Pearce, he's much younger, much more elusive, and I think he just has better stand-up in general, and honestly, I can see Darren Elkins just wanting to grapple and just trying to hold him down, but Darren Elkins, the damage does not take as much damage as he used to be able to take, and I feel like even no matter what happens, let's say Darren Elkins is better, it has a better skill set absolutely everywhere. I think he's just a step behind, kind of like how we saw just Frankie Edgar. It's like when you take a look at fighters, at some point you just look at them and you say, hey, these guys just don't have it anymore, and I feel that way about Elkins, so I am definitely going with Jonathan Pearce in this fight. I think he's going to get it done relatively easy. Now moving on to the next fight, we have Michael Johnson versus the Bone Crusher, and man, Michael Johnson, taking a look at his stats now, I didn't know he was 21-18 now. Like, that is a crazy record. However, when you take a look at Michael Johnson's fights, this guy is probably one of the most unpredictable fighters in the UFC. Like, it's a common thing among UFC fans, and I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're very well aware, is Michael Johnson is the absolute best, worst fighter. He can lose to anybody on any given night, and he can beat anybody on any given night. You know what I mean? He's the guy that rocked Khabib Nurmagomedov, the only guy to ever put him on skates. You know what I mean? So it's absolutely crazy how sometimes this guy just wins and sometimes he loses. So every time he fights, I don't know what to say. I have no idea what to say. It's like Michael Johnson could finish him. He could get finished. I don't care what the matchup looks like. I don't care who he's going up against. He could be going against Charles Oliveira. He could be going up against Islam Makhachev. I would say the same thing right now. And I think that Marc here, who he's fighting, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters whose opponent is. I think it matters on what Michael Johnson shows up and how he looks. So for this fight, 50-50. Just usual for Michael Johnson. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going for. I can't make a pick for this fight. Now, moving on, we have Guida versus Scott Holtzman. This is a fight that I'm very excited for because if you take a look at Guida, he's been grappling a lot and he still looks really good. For his age now, he still looks absolutely fantastic, Guida. Like, this guy does not look like he's slowing down at all. Kind of like, is it Fiera? Like one of those 43-year-old fighters who just like look like they're just not slowing down at all. And that is Guida for me. I still like, I like his chances to win this fight. However, I'm not going to pick him. If he were somehow to get this win, I would not be surprised one bit. I'd be happy for him. I'm actually cheering for Guida in this fight. However, I think Holtzman has looked very, very good so far in his UFC run. I think like every single time I've seen this guy fight, he looks great, absolutely fantastic in the clinch, and that's where I think this is going to be a huge problem in this fight because Guida, what's he probably going to try to do? He's probably going to grapple. He's going to probably clinch up. He's probably going to go for some takedowns along the fence, and I can really see Holtzman raining down those elbows there. He is so good close range. He has really good overhands. Like, when you're in the short range with Holtzman, that's where he absolutely shines, and I think Guida is going to put himself in that situation and possibly get finished. However, I'm not completely sold that Guida is going to lose this fight. I think he still has a good chance, but at some point in Guida's career, he's going to have to slow down, just like we were talking about Darren Elkins. Like, at some point, these fighters have to fall off, and Guida is getting there. When will it be? We don't know, but I think the safe pick right now, right here, is Scott Holtzman for this fight. Moving on to the next fight, we have Niko Price, the big return of Niko Price versus Phil Rowe, and man, This is a tough one for me to pick because, again, like Niko Price, he's looked really good so far, but it seems like every time he gets a little bit of a step up in competition, he just falls short just a little bit. However, he looks great doing it. He looks great no matter who he fights. I think the biggest factor for this fight here is that Niko Price is comfortable no matter where the fight goes, and he is capable of finishing you wherever the fight goes. He will throw himself in the fight, and he'll be comfortable absolutely everywhere. And I think he's just going to just outstrike Phil here. I think he's just going to be able to pick him apart to a very nice decision. I don't see this one being like, don't get me wrong, Niko Price is always in fantastic fights, but I feel like he'll just be able to stay on the outside a little bit, just pick him apart. I can see him winning a comfortable decision in this fight. I'm going to go with Niko Price for this one. Moving on to another very interesting fight, Eryk Anders versus Kyle Daukaus. Now, Kyle Daukaus had a lot of hype going up with him when he was running up in the UFC, especially with his brother in the division. Like, there were two brothers, they were going up in heavyweight and middleweight here. Regardless, Kyle looked great. Got starched, and the hype train just absolutely got killed, right? So I feel like it is way too early for people to count out Kyle Daukaus. And Eryk Anders, sometimes he looks good, man. Sometimes he doesn't. It's just, when Eryk Anders fights, there's never anything where I see it's like, oh my God, he's fighting Eryk Anders. He needs to look out for this. He's just like a solid fighter. He's pretty good everywhere, but he's not great. So I feel like this is a really good opportunity for Kyle Daukaus to get back on the hype train, possibly get a finish. I'm going to pick this fight by decision here. Now, Kyle Daukaus, he got hit with a massive shot that could pretty much point out anybody, you know what I mean? So I don't think he's necessarily a chinny guy. It's just, again, like, he's still a little unproven to me. He looked great so far, but I think if he gets a comfortable win over Eryk Anders here, the hype train will be built back up, and then we can look at him going further and further in the middleweight division. So I'm going to go with Daukaus here, but I'm very reluctant to pick him in this fight. It's just Eryk Anders, I don't see any danger that he presents Kyle Daukaus. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, you know what? He could finish him, but is he going to throw the same shot that Kyle Daukaus got caught with? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause that could put out anybody. I don't know. This is a very tough fight, but I'm going to go with Daukaus just by a little bit, maybe 60-40 here. Moving on to probably what's going to be the fight of the night is Tai Tuivasa, and I apologize, guys. Sergei Pavlovich, I always mispronounce his last name, so I apologize for that. Now, very interesting fight. Very interesting. Sergei is on an absolute tear in the division, has very strong capabilities of being champion. Now, Tai Tuivasa, when I found out he signed this fight, not only this fight, he signed to fight Sergei, the guy who's on an absolute tear, you know what I mean? So, Tai Tuivasa took life-changing damage his last fight against Sergei. I was very surprised. When this fight got announced, I was like, what? He's taking a fight this soon? That dude needs more recovery. That is insane that he's back already. Now, Tai Tuivasa at the same time, like Derek Lewis, like anybody in the heavyweight division, you can't count him out of any fight. Look at Sergei. That fight was a one-sided beatdown. Tai Tuivasa almost finished Sergei in that fight. You know what I mean? So no matter what, every single fight with Tai Tuivasa, and every single fight pretty much in the heavy division, you cannot count the guy out. However, Sergei, I feel like he's going to starch him. I feel like he's just going to starch him, and who knows, with that damage that Tai Tuivasa has taken, we've seen him lose before. Yeah, he was on a great win streak. That came to a halt. Who knows how his confidence is going to be? Who knows he's going to come back? I feel like he's going to come back okay, but is his body okay? That's the big question. And this guy is just massive. Like, just look at the build difference between these two here. Look at the build difference. It's absolutely insane. Like, just, I feel like Sergei has the capabilities of being the heavyweight champion here. I don't like Tai Tuivasa's chance at all. I'm going with him. First round, KO. I think Sergei Pavlovich is going to roll through the title shot and just possibly win it there. I think he has very championship capabilities. Moving on to the co-main event. I'm very surprised the co-main event is Nicolau versus Matt Schnell. This is a very interesting one. Okay, this is a very interesting one because Schnell, it's tough to tell what's going to happen with Matt Schnell because when he goes in there, this guy is the definition of kill or be killed, right? He just goes in there very fan favorite friendly, like just matchups. It's just he goes in there, he's willing to trade, he's willing to do whatever it takes to win the fight. And it's tough to say, man, because Nicolau, he's looked so good so far. And I can really see him just fighting more intelligently and winning the fight. Maybe, I don't know if I can see him getting a takedown and submitting it, but Schnell is like, this is a tough one, man. This is a very tough one for me to pick because I feel like Nicolau is the more intelligent fighter. He's going to just take him down and just beat him up there. I don't know why. I can see that fight happening where it's like he's going to come out Schnell and just look to bang and then get taken down. That's just, for some reason, it's just a gut feeling. You ever watch a fight and you just have a gut feeling that something's going to happen in a fight? That's what I see happening in this fight now. However, with Schnell, you never know because the guy's a wild card. Like he's going to go in there and who knows, maybe he can starch the fight and just it'd be over like that. You know what I mean? So it's a very interesting one. I'm going to go with a 60-40 here. I think Schnell will not be able to get the job done this time. However, it's going to be very interesting to see how he performs. And I'm an idiot because that wasn't the co-main event. I was like, this is the co-main event? Really? I completely forgot about this fight. No, I'm not even kidding with you right now. Bryan Barberena versus Rafael dos Anjos. I don't know how I forgot about this fight. I don't know why it was a blank on my head. Anyways, Very interesting idea. So, Rafael dos Anjos, he's looking for just fun fights now. His title run is over, so you got to question how much preparation is he putting into this because he doesn't have title aspirations at this point. His motivation is really, really in question for me. He's a great fighter, but I don't know how serious he's taking this fight. Is he just doing it for the money? Is he just doing it for fun? Who knows? I don't like that. However, Bryan Barberena has been on a quiet win streak. He's been on a very, very quiet win streak, and he looked absolutely great against his fight against Robbie Lawler. However, that win is probably not going to age well. Robbie Lawler doesn't look good, especially with his other fights. It seems like every single time Barberena gets a step up in competition, he loses, and this is definitely the step up in competition in Rafael dos Anjos because he still looked great. And not great. He looked good against Rafael Fiziev, and Fiziev, very, very top prospect in the lightweight division. You know what I mean? So to even hang your own with 5 rounds of Fiziev says something. It says it's amazing. So, but the problem was a lot of that was just holding him up against the fence. So did he look that great? I don't know. I'll leave that up for you to decide. So this, I'm going to go with Rafael dos Anjos. I believe he should win this fight. He's getting a little bit older now, and I really, really question his motivation, how much he's training for this fight. I think that will be the biggest decider here. I'm not confident in this pick for that reason, but I feel like Rafael dos Anjos' skill set, chin, cardio, absolutely everywhere. I think he's better than Bryan Barberena. I think he's a better fighter. Absolutely, no matter where the fight goes, I think Rafael dos Anjos is better. But just like I said, I question his motivation at this point, and I question his age at this point. Tough for me to pick. I'm going to go with Rafael dos Anjos. Not sure about it, though. Not sure because for the reasons that I just mentioned. And moving on to the main event, man, I hate this fight. I hate this fight because I'm such a huge fan of both guys. Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland. I don't think Thompson has it anymore, guys. I think he's too old. I think he's too slow. Kevin Holland looks like a monster in that welterweight division, and I think it's going to look like the Showtime KO. I think Kevin Holland is going to starch him with a 1-2. Bang. I think it's going to be quick. I think it's going to be easy. I do not give Wonderboy one little bit of a chance in this fight. Kevin Holland is so good at using his reach. He's fighting a guy who just wants to stand up. Yes, he looked horrible in his last fight, but Khamzat Chimaev makes everybody except Gilbert Burns look horrible. So, you know what I mean? So, it's just Kevin Holland at this weight class. I like it. I even like his chances to be champion. Honestly, I really, really do. He had his short retirement. Yeah, you know, he had a setback, but Wonderboy has not looked like the same Wonderboy anymore. He's Wonder Man at this point. He's getting way too old for this, and I hope he wins. One of my favorite fighters of all time. Same with Kevin Holland, though. It's just that one of those fights where I'm going to hate to see one fighter lose, but I'm actually throwing money on Holland. I'm that confident with this. I give Wonderboy absolutely no chance. Who has a better skill set? Stand-up wise, Stephen Thompson has more tools, but Kevin Holland definitely has the power, the speed, the range advantage. I feel like he's just going to be better everywhere. And Thompson is not used to fighting someone with this reach. Look at this. 81-inch reach versus 75. How often do you see that with Stephen Thompson? I think Holland's going to starch him. I think it's going to be quick. I think it's going to be a very, very sad, possibly retirement for Stephen Thompson. It's going to hurt my heart because he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. But guys, with that being said, I am going to put an end to this video today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your picks down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and I'd love to talk to you about it in the comments. Let me know again what your picks are. And thank you so much for watching again. I will see you in the next video. Take care.